Importing a witness list. Now, you'll notice here under the witness, current witness, and event is that you have the witnesses and you have the different events like the closing, prosecution, defense, opening, prosecution, defense. If I choose that, you'll notice that the reason I added it that way rather than saying opening prosecution and then creating another event called closing prosecution is because you do have two timers here. You can choose your prosecution and then choose opening for prosecution and defense, and when you run these timers, you'll notice that this is moving as well. And then you go over to the defense and it's their turn to present. You'll see that it's adding here as well. You don't have to create two different events to keep track of the two sides. So you have your prosecution and you have your defense times. And you'll see that if I choose somebody else, let's say the defendants are splitting up their opening between all three of them. And so when you resume here, this just continues on the defense. So according to this event, this is the total running time for this particular event for defense, and this is the total running time for this particular event for prosecution. And so it's very easy to use. You just hit stop and resume. If you have a break, if the judge says, well, let's just take a break, you just hit stop. When you come back from your break and you start going again, just hit resume. And then when that particular attorney is done and the next set wants to go up there, you just hit resume. And you'll see that this continues over here. And let's say that the prosecution wants to call their first witness. So let's say their first witness is Joe Brown. You'll see that I've already accumulated time for Joe Brown, but this is just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to just click resume, and Joe Brown's time is being calculated, and this is the total time for Joe Brown for prosecution. If I go over to defense, hit resume, this is the total time for Joe Brown for the defense. No matter who gets up there, these numbers will change here because this is the actual time for each individual law firm or representative, their time for their particular defendant. And this is the total time for the defendants for Joe Brown. And that's basically how you use it. With regard to the witnesses, to add a witness, if I wanted to add a witness or event, I would put in the last name, first name, and the relevance. Now if I look under my list here, I'm going to have witness 1. You'll notice the times are 0 because no time has been accumulated yet for witness number 1. Now remember when I said when you went into here and you edited a case, if there was time associated with these people, you couldn't delete them? Well, the same thing applies to witnesses. If I go to witness and I go to remove a witness or event, you'll see the witnesses here. And if I go to, let's say, Joe Smith, and I try to delete it, time has been accumulated for Joe Smith. So I won't be able to delete him. But for witness number 1 that I just created, since there is no time associated with that person, I can delete them. And you'll see that they're gone here. So when you add a new witness or event, you just enter in the information here, and you do that for every witness that both plaintiffs and defendants have on their witness list. Now that can become kind of tedious, and so what we've done is we've created an import witness list, just like we did for the exhibit list. When you click on that, you'll see the way that I've done this as far as naming conventions and so on. All you do is put in the last name, comma, first name. There's no space in between, and you would do that for each thing. Now with Tom Green, you'll notice there's a Tom Green and a Tom Green the second. If you have somebody that has the same name, try to add like senior, junior, or something at the end. And this is basically how you would do it, is you would put in the last name plus their surname followed by their first name. Here as well with the opening and closing, is that I put opening, comma, and then plaintiff and defense. You can put spaces and so on here, just don't put a space or anything after the comma. So I'm not going to import that because they're already in the case. We've gone through adding a new witness or event, remove a witness or event, edit a witness or event. If I want to change this to JOHN and update, then he's updated. You have to have a witness or event open in order to run the timers, because the timers depend on something being in here. You can't just run a timer without any kind of event or a witness on the stand. That would make no sense.